A handful of new games crack our list this season while we say goodbye to some old favorites since our spring 2018 update. With Microsoft's clear focus on the future of its console and the next generation, the coming year should see a lot of exciting new games to consider. But for now, these are the best 25 games you can play on your Xbox One right now. What can we say? Minecraft's open-world block building took gaming by storm in a way that most games can only dream of doing. Its charming style, simple multiplayer, and endless gameplay make it one of the greatest games ever made. Dead Cells fuses breakneck motion with an emphasis on risk and reward for an incredibly engaging action platformer. It's rewarding in its flexibility in a way few games are. Each easily digestible run through its beautifully detailed and shifting levels goads you to push the limits of your ability and crushes you when you get too comfortable. There are layers of strategy and tactics buried not only in the immediate choices you make, but in the grander metagame, making it one of the very best action platformers you can play on your Xbox One. Even without its unfortunate online troubles out of the gate, this collection of the first 4 mainline Halo shooters stands tall for the campaigns alone, particularly the completely remastered Halo 2 Anniversary. And now that developer 343 has fixed the multiplayer suite and updated the complete package to add new features, enhancements, playlists, and a new overall level of polish, Halo the Master Chief Collection is an absolute must-own that just keeps getting better. Diablo III Ultimate Evil Edition is one of the best couch co-op games out there right now. Driven by a constant flow of smashable enemies and ever more powerful loot drops, you can endlessly crawl through its campaign levels and randomized dungeons in search of legendary weapons and armor, and you can do it all with your friends. Though your character gains a voice in Fallout 4, the star of the game is definitely the Commonwealth. This wasteland is filled with history from both pre- and post-war, conveyed through fantastic environmental storytelling. Pair all that with the great companions and the ability to craft any sort of player character, and you've got one of the best adventure RPGs around. Building upon the foundations of the first game, Dishonored 2 delivers a tense stealth experience with a multifaceted, artistically unique world to use to your advantage. Aside from creative powers and passive abilities, it really shines in varied and surprisingly creative level design, with distinct concepts that make different buildings feel like they almost belong in different games, in a good way. Ori and the Blind Forest harkens back to the glory days of Xbox Live Arcade by delivering challenging platformer gameplay wrapped in an absolutely beautiful visual aesthetic and topped by a sweet, somber story starring a charming lead. It will test your will at times, but such trials are well worth it. Overwatch is an incredible achievement in multiplayer shooter design. It bobs and weaves almost perfectly between being the quick-fix adrenaline hit you might want after a long day of work and the thoughtful, strategic multiplayer experience that becomes the center of evening-long binges with friends. Monster Hunter World taps the vein of that incredible action RPG power climb against complex, mysterious, and utterly massive monsters. It's a world that feels alive thanks to the incredible attention to detail in the varied environments and the beasts themselves. And just when you think you've conquered it, there's always something left to chase down. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a resounding achievement in world building, environment, and engaging gameplay with occasional problems. Though the series is now firmly letting go of its stealth action roots in favor of a dynamic open-world RPG, Assassin's Creed Odyssey's adventure through ancient Greece is a gorgeous thrill to explore. Its excellent systems mesh together in a way that's hard to beat, and while there are definite rough edges, Odyssey sets a new bar for Assassin's Creed as the best the series has ever been. Dark Souls 3 sports exacting combat and an impressive air of danger, but it reaches beyond that familiar identity with a grand sense of scale and a flair for making the destroyed and desolate feel absorbing and magnetic. The rewards of exploration, both material and experiential, make the Kingdom of Lothric difficult to pull away from. After years in development hell, not to mention being a reboot of the actual greatest first-person shooter of all time, the 2016 edition of Doom has absolutely no business being as good as it is. Thing is, it's not just good, it's one of the best single-player shooters in years. It successfully modernized the fast-paced carnage of the original game without losing its spirit. Cuphead's brilliance goes much deeper than its hand-drawn 1930s-style cartoon aesthetic. It also happens to be one of the best bullet hell shooters in years, with precise controls, incredible challenge, and genius Easter eggs like a black and white mode. Everything about Firewatch is brilliant. The naturally written characters, the use of humor, sadness, drama, and tension, the bold and colorful Olimos art style, the remarkable voice acting, and more. Firewatch is like a great book in that you won't be able to put it down, and it'll stick with you for a while after you're done. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a masterclass of atmosphere, storytelling, and the marriage of mechanical and conceptual design. The care and attention Ninja Theory has clearly poured into Senua and her story has created something amazing. Hellblade's beautiful presentation and dense story reinforces its serious subject matter in this vivid tale of harrowing darkness. You can do a lot worse than to earn parallels to Star Wars Episode 7. Check this out. Gears of War 4 switches developers, hands the key to a new generation of heroes, and successfully reinvigorates the franchise in the process. Sound familiar? Gears of War 4 delivered an excellent campaign filled with variety and likable characters, a yes this is still totally fun versus mode, and revamped the groundbreaking Horde mode to make it better than ever. It struck just the right balance of nostalgia and advancement. Its colorful art style is gorgeous, its sense of humor is hilariously self-aware, its traversal trumps almost every other open-world game, its missions all feel fresh and varied even when they're really not. In short, Sunset Overdrive is pure fun, all bottled up as a caffeinated beverage that feels so good when you drink it. Titanfall 2 delivered the key things the original failed to, an outstanding single-player campaign and some more meat on Titanfall's strong but otherwise skinny multiplayer bones. The multiplayer part was obvious, more Titans, more game modes, more maps, etc. And Titanfall 2 delivered them, but that campaign almost came out of nowhere. It may not have had much of a story, but it's one of the best shooter campaigns of this generation on the back of its smart, variety is king design. The Witness is more than just a gorgeous island littered with hundreds of puzzles. It's a labyrinth of mysteries waiting to be solved as you learn more and more about the enigmatic island. Seemingly confounding puzzles challenged us to take a step back and explore the world to understand new rules, and when we did, we always found something new to enjoy. Where some other franchises struggle to maintain their identity within a sandbox, Metal Gear Solid 5 thrives on it, turning all that open space into a tactical espionage playground. It hands you a useful set of weapons, gadgets, helpers, and support abilities, and incorporates them all masterfully into the minute-to-minute gameplay, empowering you to conceive and execute a plan your way. No game in recent memory has rewarded player intelligence so generously. Lara Croft's first post-reboot sequel raises the bar for the entire action-adventure genre. Freeform exploration sections plus a thorough crafting and XP system mean you've always got a new goal in mind. Combine it with Rise's gorgeous set pieces and a compelling human story, and you get one of the most complete, top-to-bottom, excellent games on Xbox One. The Witcher 3 is a remarkable feat of open-world design savvy. Its two main sandbox areas are beyond massive, but their density actually matches their breadth. You can't go anywhere within its breathtaking landscapes without running into things to do. And the best part is that almost every point of interest you come across ties back into one of the deepest lore pools in gaming, providing motivation and context for its detailed RPG systems and its brutal responsive combat. Forza Horizon 4 isn't just the best Forza game ever made, it's the single greatest car game of the last decade, and perhaps of all time. With its 4-season fictionalization of beautiful Great Britain and focus on socially fueled fun and driving rather than hardcore simulation racing, it is the equivalent of a perfect, breezy 72-degree summer day distilled into video game form. It's converted people who don't typically play racing games into fans. It has a gigantic, diverse selection of cars, many of which are once again discoverable as hidden barn finds. Its seasons change the look and feel of the experience, and its soundtrack is bright, cheery, and bound to put you in a good mood. Somehow, Forza Horizon keeps getting better, which seemed all but impossible after the sublime Forza Horizon 3. It may be the same core game as its Xbox 360 counterpart, but that doesn't make it any less incredible. In fact, the Xbox One edition of Grand Theft Auto V earns extra points for taking an already huge, deep game and adding more soundtrack songs, more props to cutscenes, more vehicles, and, biggest of all, an incredible first-person mode that makes the already seminal GTA 5 feel like a completely different game. The non-sequel follow-up to the sublime Limbo took 6 years to make, and it looks like 5 of those were spent on polish. Every pixel, animation, ray of light, and audio cue feels considered and deliberate, not to mention the puzzles themselves. Inside won't strain your brain too hard, but its impactful non-verbal story will leave you contemplating what it all means for days after you finish. Inside is simply unforgettable and should not be missed. So there you have it, the top 25 Xbox One games we think you've got to have if you pick up the console. Look out for our next update in spring 2019, and in the meantime, for all things Xbox, you are already in the right place, right here at IGN.